Rafael Devers is not helping his case for being the everyday guaranteed third baseman for the Boston Red Sox, and he's actually starting to make things even worse for himself.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And the best part is it's completely free. So you might as well continue to tune in because Locked On is your team every day. Happy Wednesday, halfway through the week. Hope you're having a good week. It is March, and just a reminder, daylight savings is this weekend, so make sure to set your clocks forward an hour. I know it's tough. I hate losing an hour of sleep too. That's the absolute worst, but the long-term effect of it is way better than the fall one because it's going to be dark a lot later, and dark later means baseball season. So that is super exciting. We are right around the corner from opening day, just a few short weeks away. And as the Red Sox continue to navigate through their spring training season and figuring out who's going to be playing where come opening day, what's going on with Rafael Devers? He was supposed to make his spring training debut on Tuesday, but it has now been pushed back. So I'm going to be discussing that on today's show, as well as Alex Bregman riding the bus with the prospects and Adam Ottavino making his spring training debut. So obviously lots of roster things to figure out still here with the Red Sox. And I've talked extensively on here about what some of those roster decisions could look like. And one of those roster decisions is going to involve third base. Is the third baseman to start the season going to be Rafael Devers, or is it going to be newly acquired Alex Bregman? One of these guys is acting like a good role model. The other one, not so much. And while I understand that Devers was playing through pain last year, that is not fun at all. I totally can understand him and reason with him on that and feel some sort of compassion for what he went through, because it's definitely not easy to play through an injury. And I respect the fact that last year he 100% wanted to continue to play baseball at a high level, despite the fact that he was very much dealing with some blatant pain. That is respectable, and it just shows how much he loves the game and wants to be out there. And he hit 272 with 28 home runs and 83 RBIs last year, despite continuously complaining about soreness in both of his shoulders. And it was the type of scenario where he said, okay, I'm going to deal with this in the offseason. I just want to keep playing. So he dealt with it in the offseason by not getting surgery because supposedly surgery wasn't needed. And he's been focusing on getting back on track so that he can be ready for opening day and making sure that he's fully healthy and that this shoulder issue is under wraps. So in the first couple of weeks of spring training, for him, he's been trying to strengthen those shoulders to keep up with the rigors of a 162 game regular season. Exactly where he'll play once he returns still remains another question now that Bregman is on the team, because he's a Gold Glove winner at third base, Bregman, whereas Devers has posted poor fielding metrics over the years throughout the course of his career, and he's led the American League or been tied for the lead in errors 3 times in the past 7 seasons. 7. And it's not really getting a lot better. I mean, he's shown some improvements defensively according to his metrics over the last year or so, but not enough to the point where he's nearly as good defensively as Alex Bregman. So it seems to be a no-brainer defensively that Alex Bregman would be the better choice to play third. But when asked about it, if he would move off of third base, Devers basically said no, saying last month, third base is my position. Now, granted, when he says third base is my position, he could have meant it more along the lines of I'm ready to work hard and play well at third and I've improved more so than straight up refusing. But it's not a good presentation or a good look because of the fact of what it could be, which is him refusing. And even David Ortiz has said that Devers needs to kind of put his ego aside and start to think about what's best for the team. And in this case, what's best for the team might be for him to move to designated hitter and let Bregman play third base. And when it comes to this battle, Alex Cora did say the decisions that are going to be made here about roster construction and about what we're going to do in the future, we're going to make sure we have the best team possible out there. Devers has a lot of pride. We know that. He feels like he's a third baseman. He's going to work out as a third baseman, and then we'll make decisions accordingly. I think here it's not about Bregman or Devers or Cora. It's about the Red Sox. So he was bringing up the point that they are going to do what's best for the team regardless. But the biggest thing for me here now is not only the fact that Devers really was coming across like he was being selfish and not a good teammate by saying he's unwilling to move, but now his spring training debut got pushed back. Alex Cora was talking about it and basically was saying that they don't know when he's going to make his first appearance yet. He hasn't taken the field for preseason action because of the shoulder issue, and he was initially expected to debut in Fort Myers with the team for Wednesday's game against the Rays. But when Devers spoke with Cora and pushed back that appearance, Cora confirmed that he will not play and didn't really offer an official date for when he will be playing, but he basically implied that it might not be until this weekend at this point. Alex Cora came out and said on Tuesday that Devers will not be starting the game on Wednesday because he asked for more live batting practices. So the Red Sox are okay with him doing that. He said, we'll see where we are over the weekend, but timing-wise, he's off. I'm not worried about him. So Alex Cora and the Red Sox don't seem too concerned about it, but why is Devers asking for more live BPs? Because if this is somebody who really wants to start the season at third base, you would think that he would be wanting to get the reps in out there in live games, because the longer he waits to play in live games, the more likely it is that Bregman could win the starting spot at third base because the Red Sox could feel like Devers isn't ready to start the season. And the other big thing with this too is apparently there was no surgery needed for his shoulders. So then why is it that he's still not ready to participate in a spring training game? I feel like it's a bad look on him to go out there and ask for more live BPs before he gets into a game. While I understand wanting to get those extra reps in, this is spring training, and the best type of training you're going to get for the season is to play against live pitching. So I don't like this. I really feel like this is going to rub people the wrong way in terms of where Devers is at in his attitude right now, because it's not fair to be somebody who basically demands to stay at your position and says third base is my spot, and then be unwilling to try to go out there in a spring training game. If you're somebody who played through an injury for the entirety of last season, you're telling me that you're not ready to participate in a spring training game yet. And if that is really due to him still feeling pain in his shoulders, then maybe there is a bigger problem going on here that needs to be addressed. Because the fact that it was said publicly that surgery was not needed, that was really reassuring to hear as a Red Sox fan. But if he's finding that he's still going through his reps and his everyday routine and things are still not feeling right with him, then maybe he does need to get surgery, and maybe it's a bigger problem than he or the Red Sox think it is. And I really want Devers out there every day in some capacity, whether that's playing third base or whether that's as a DH. There's no denying that Rafael Devers will make the Boston Red Sox a better team if he's out there than if he's not. But it's really upsetting and frustrating to hear this news, because if this problem continues, why should we feel confident that he'll be able to go out there and play 162 games? It's definitely upsetting. And to me, the biggest message that it's sending right now is that he is still being a little bit selfish in regards to the fact that he's trying to occupy third base. Bregman's gotten more reps at third in a live game scenario. So therefore, it's logical to assume that Bregman is going to be more ready to start the season there than the guy who needs work defensively still. I feel like Devers, in a way, is a little bit nervous about going out there and addressing the third base situation. He doesn't really want to go out there and play in a live game because he doesn't want to play poor defense, and then the Red Sox make their decision that Bregman is going to start the season at third base. So I feel like, in a way, subconsciously, that's part of the issue here, is Devers is coming out and saying, I'm not ready yet, because he doesn't want to face the music of the fact that Bregman could potentially be taking his position to start the season. And I feel like the writing's all on the wall here for Bregman to start the year at third, since he's consistently been playing third throughout the course of the spring training season so far. But the Red Sox are not going to come out and say that until opening day or closer to opening day. It's just a tough look for Devers. I do understand trying to make sure he's 100% ready to go, but what's a few more days really going to do? If he really is in that much pain, he probably should look into the situation a little bit further, because we don't want it to be a long-term lingering thing. So hopefully he's able to come back soon. Alex Cora was definitely hesitant about giving a day because he doesn't want to make promises and then have them not pan out. But this situation really needs to get under wraps quickly, and I hope it does soon. And speaking of the third base situation and Devers and Bregman's been really showing some strong leadership so far in his short time in a Red Sox uniform, and I only expect that to continue, so I'm going to be touching on that next. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days. Whether I'm snacking at my desk, on a road trip, or just need a quick protein boost, they're always my go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. These things are incredibly addicting. I cannot stop buying them at the store. And if you like the pistachio flavor, because it's not for everybody, I understand, but if you do, you will absolutely love these. So make sure to purchase them the next time you're at the store, because they're not that expensive either. They're definitely a nice little snack for when you're watching TV at home or something, or traveling. Alex Bregman, since coming to the Red Sox, has shown nothing but maturity and leadership. And that is something that I really like as a quality in a player. And that's why I'm really excited about having Bregman here, because I talked about extensively when the Red Sox brought him to Boston that the biggest difference he's going to make here is his off the field experience, knowing what it's like to win, being a veteran who is mature and could help set the tone for some of these younger players about what to do and not to do in certain scenarios. And with the on-field presence, being able to keep their composure if they make a bad play or if they have a rough day at the plate, bouncing back and just forgetting about it and focusing on the next day and moving forward. That's all great things that Bregman can bring to this Boston Red Sox team. And one of the biggest examples that I always go back to is him saying that he's willing to play wherever the team needs him to play. He's been saying that since he got here. He does not feel any sort of tension with Rafael Devers. He's even been helping Devers take reps at third base to prepare him because Bregman knows that what's best for the team is what needs to be done here. And Bregman wants to win. And the reason he came to Boston is because he was really excited about the makeup of athletes that they have on this roster and the future and how well set up the Red Sox are for the future with the young, talented prospects that they even have too. So there are a lot of qualities about Alex Bregman that I really like. One of which that I even noticed when I was at spring training over the weekend was just him helping give some pointers to some of the prospects about their game and their swing and helping to show them the ropes about what being a Major League Baseball player is like. And he cares so much about the prospects that he actually rode on the bus with them to an away game on Monday. There's a general rule of thumb in the early weeks of spring training, particularly in the Grapefruit League, where many of the road games include bus rides that last 90 minutes or more. The veteran stars usually get their at-bats at home, and the young players take their show on the road and go to a lot of those games. So Roman Anthony and Marcelo Meyer, which are the Boston Red Sox number 1 and 3 prospects, respectively, right now, as rated by MLB Pipeline, dared Alex Bregman to abandon tradition for a day because, again, since he's a veteran, he wouldn't be making that type of road trip. And for Monday's 6-6 tie in Sarasota against the Orioles, Bregman actually took them up on the offer, serving as the DH in the game and traveling with them on the bus. He said Marcelo and Roman were giving me a hard time and asking me if I even had any gray pants in my locker, which is for those road games. Anthony ended up having to head back to Fort Myers when he started to feel sick upon his arrival. But Bregman was able to have a fun day of work with Meyer and Christian Campbell, who's the team's number 2 prospect right now. Meyer actually said, yeah, he's the man. I mean, we were talking about it, me and Roman, and we noticed that the veterans don't normally come out to road games a lot. So we were giving him a little bit of crap. And he's like, dude, I'll go to the next one. Like, let's go hang out on the bus. Next thing you know, he's on the bus with us. It's definitely been interesting to watch the way Bregman has been with this team and how he's gravitated towards the team's big 3 prospects since his arrival to Red Sox camp. He's been super invested seemingly in wanting to help them grow and develop. And I think they were truly one of the biggest reasons why he ended up deciding on coming to Boston, because he knows that with those 3 players in particular, the future is super bright. Alex Cora said it's important. He understands what comes with the contract. People focus on the opt-outs and all that, but he's all in. He understands that they're a big part of not only what we're trying to accomplish this year, but in the future. There have just been so many lengthy meetings between Bregman and that trio of players at the ballpark and off-site collaborations and discussions over meals together. So he really spends a lot of time with them. He's playing both the short and long game here because he knows that the top prospects are likely to have an impact with the Red Sox this season, and that they're even more vital to the club's success down the line. And for that reason, he's trying to impart whatever wisdom and leadership he can on those guys. And Alex Cora did mention how when Bregman was in negotiations with the team, he was already collecting data on those 3 prospects in particular. Cora said he was very vocal about it when we met with him. He wanted to know about them. He not only asked about the position players, he asked about where we were pitching wise and how we see it in the future. Very smart questions from a very smart guy. And I'm happy that he's doing everything possible. And the thing is that this is not fake. He's doing this because this is who he is. I love the fact that he does that. And nobody's loving it more for sure than that group of prospects who have created a buzz similar to a decade ago when Mookie Betts, Xander Bogaerts, and Jackie Bradley Jr. were punching their tickets to Boston, and everybody was really excited to see them perform at the major league level. Marcelo Meyer really just respects him a lot and said he's just a baseball junkie and loves talking about the game. So he just loves asking questions, dropping knowledge on us. I feel like a lot of it is just to get to know us and the type of players that we are. So we just get a better understanding of each other when we're playing together. So when Bregman was also talking about these players, he was asked to provide individual scouting reports on each of them. And he was talking about Roman Anthony and said definitely mature beyond his years, really good approach at the plate. He can obviously hit the ball really hard, but also has a good strike zone and takes his walks. I think he's going to be an elite hitter in the game. On Marcelo Meyer, Bregman said he's a hell of a player all around, swinging the bat, and he's so fluid defensively. He's always in rhythm, catching the ball, and physical. Just an all-around baseball player, loves to play, a grinder. And on Christian Campbell, he said the same as Meyer, advanced approach at the plate, obviously high on base percentage guy, can hit the ball hard to all fields, really, really good athlete who can play multiple positions. He said all three of them, they're just gamers. They love the game and they love playing the game and talking the game. And those are the guys you want to be around. So he has really high praise for these three. And like I mentioned, his investment in these guys is a game changer because you bring in a guy like Bregman who's been around the sport for so long and has experienced the highest of highs and the lowest of lows of what it takes to be a Major League Baseball player. He's experienced the rewards and he's also experienced the downs and the hardships that come with it. And for these guys to be able to be exposed to a player like that when they're still so early on in their careers and trying to work their way up to the majors, and for them to want to be that eager to learn from him, I think we're only going to continue to see this over the next few weeks at spring training. He's really invested in these guys, and I can speak to that firsthand because I saw him interacting with these guys over the weekend when I was at spring training. And ever since coming to Boston, we've heard different stories about Alex Bregman and his interactions with their top prospects. And that to me is going to work wonders for them when it comes to their careers down the road. And you look at a guy like him, and he's just a good, knowledgeable leader. Now, remember, Alex Cora was somebody who really wanted Bregman during the offseason. He was one of the people among the Red Sox decision makers in the organization who was pushing for the Red Sox to sign him. And I really, truly believe this is why. I feel like it's because he knows how good of a leader Bregman is and how much knowledge he can put onto some of the younger players. And he knows that from a locker room standpoint, he can make a huge difference for these guys. So these prospects are more than happy to have Bregman around. And you really don't see veterans going and taking the bus to an away game with the young prospects when they could be not playing in the game and hanging out at home and resting and maybe getting some swings in on their own time. But for him to invest in doing something like that and going to the game with these guys, that just says a lot about him and his desire to really want to see these players succeed with the Red Sox organization long term. And it also shows me that he's not interested in opting out of his contract after this first year. It definitely shows that he sees himself with the Red Sox beyond this upcoming season. And that's why he wants what's best for the Red Sox now and in the future. Because if he's going to be around for the next few years and these guys are going to be up in the majors too, he wants to be able to be that mentor for them who they can continue to go to. So I think Bregman's all in here with the Boston Red Sox, and I think he's going to continue to make a difference on these younger players. And I think we'll be able to see a lot more confident versions of them when they come up to the majors because of the way Bregman has been able to be with them. So I'm really excited about the idea of Alex Bregman being here. I cannot emphasize that enough. Riding the bus with them is such a cool story. You really don't hear about guys doing that. So I think that speaks absolute volumes for the type of person and player that he is. And coming up, I'm going to be talking about another veteran who made his spring training debut recently. So that's coming up next. Don't forget, just as a reminder, that you can subscribe to any of our Locked On shows on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, including Locked On Fantasy Baseball. Right after you finish this show, you can tune into that show with hosts Dominic Martino and Matthew One. MLB Fantasy Draft season is here. Be the most informed fan and set yourself up for a league win. Find Locked On Fantasy Baseball on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Believe it or not, fantasy baseball drafts are right around the corner, so you're going to want to be prepared for those. So what better show than to prepare you for that than Locked On Fantasy Baseball? So continue to make Locked On Red Sox your first listen, but you can check that out as your second one. You can find my show on any podcast platform, as I am here every day talking all things about your favorite Boston Red Sox. The Boston Red Sox, speaking of which, are getting closer and closer to the season. And one player who made his return to the Red Sox organization is Adam Ottavino. Now, the Red Sox agreed to a minor league deal with him. If he doesn't make the opening day major league roster, then he can opt out of that deal. But he's another veteran with experience and definitely has some upside. He made his spring training debut in the Red Sox 6-6 tie versus the Orioles on Monday. He just pitched one inning, giving up 0 hits and 0 runs, walked 0 and struck out 2. So he was absolute nails. He went out there and had a great inning, and he pitched around quite a few prospects. Hunter Dobbins was one of the guys who threw in that game. He started and pitched the first couple innings. Sean Newcomb threw, and another prospect in Noah Davis. Those guys all threw, but who also threw was Josh Winkowski, who went 2 innings, giving up 4 hits and 3 earned runs and 2 walks. I mean, Winkowski has struggled, and that's something to take note of because he struggled last year and was very up and down. And I was really hoping that wasn't going to progress into this season. But so far, he hasn't really given me a reason to feel more confident in him this year and feel like he'll have a better season in 2025. He is a guy who definitely, to me, is on the chopping block heading into this year. And you look at a guy like Richard Fitz, who's been pitching well, and a guy in Quinn Preister, who also has been pitching well, guys who the Red Sox brought in over the course of this past season, young guys with talent who have shown off some of that talent so far when pitching for this team. You could argue that one of them deserves a spot in the bullpen over Winkowski. And I'm just curious to know when the Winkowski experience is going to be over here. Are they going to continue to experiment with trying to use him, or do they want to just give him the rest of the spring to see if he can turn things around? Because again, it's really hard to judge players fully in spring training when they're getting back into the swing of things. But for somebody like him, who kind of left a poor taste in our mouths after 2024 when he was struggling, it's very reasonable to be a little bit concerned about him going into this upcoming season. But Adam Ottavino is a guy who definitely provides some value. He's a veteran who has already pitched for the Red Sox before, so he's familiar with pitching at Fenway and he's familiar with the Red Sox system. He's a guy who could also come and pitch out of the pen and provide some guidance for some of the younger players that they have brought in over the last couple of years. And a guy like Hunter Dobbins, who also pitched in that game, who I also had on the podcast and has looked pretty good so far in spring training and is really trying to get onto the major league roster. He's somebody who could learn from Ottavino and who he could kind of try to watch and model after when it comes to his pitching routine and what he does on a day-to-day basis. So having Ottavino around could be really good for the Red Sox. Obviously, we need to see him continue to pitch a little bit more in spring training, but it's a good sign that he pitched very well in his first outing, because you never really know with the guys who are getting older what they have up their sleeve. And one inning of work is not a big enough sample size for us to draw a conclusion at all on where he's at and what he's going to be heading into the season. But if he continues to pitch this well, I would imagine he'll definitely get a spot in the bullpen come opening day. And then that means that if he's looking good and he's able to come here and pitch well out of the pen, that means they can reevaluate the bullpen and hopefully replace him with one of the guys who hasn't been pitching as well and is a weaker link in the pen, because you look at the bullpen right now, and while you have some guys who are solid, who will be contributors, like hopefully Garrett Whitlock if he's healthy, Justin Slayton for sure, who was one of the best relievers last year. You're hoping to see good things from Liam Hendricks and Aroldis Chapman, but you also have guys in there who are weak links, like Justin Wilson, who they just acquired recently. Granted, we haven't seen much of him yet, so we could see more and he could try to turn things around. But as of right now, I'm not super confident in him, and I'm not also confident in him based on his numbers from last year, which were also not very good. And then you have, Greg Weiser and Josh Winkowski, both of whom struggled last year and haven't really shown much improvement in the spring this year. And then you also have Brendan Bernardino, who had a rocky 2024, but a good 2023. Can he bounce back in 2025? So you do have some question marks in the bullpen right now. So if Adam Ottavino continues to pitch well, and he could be a guy who is solidified as a reliable reliever, then he definitely should make the roster come opening day. I definitely want to make sure that his command is still there and that he's somebody that the Red Sox could rely on. That's definitely what they're trying to do. That's why the deal was a minor league deal with an invite to spring training, because they want to make sure that he still has it in him rather than just guaranteeing him a spot, which I like and I think is really smart. But in terms of this bullpen race right now, I definitely so far am putting Ottavino above some of these other guys, because not only did he have a really good outing in his first game, but he also is a veteran, and the veteran experience I keep pushing for is so important to have. So we'll see what happens with Ottavino. He's a guy who I could see making a big impact this year, not in high leverage. I could see him in more of a low leverage type of role in the pen, but he could at least provide some relief for some of the other relievers who were called on a lot to pitch last year. So hopefully some of these other guys can start to turn things around and I could feel a little bit better about the bullpen, but definitely things are still a little shaky when it comes to that pen right now. And hopefully they can shore some things up, and Ottavino can be a guy who hopefully can help with that. So as always, though, we just continue to move forward and we continue to root for the Red Sox, and we hope that things kind of get themselves figured out as we get closer to opening day. So like I always say, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I will catch you on the flip side.